The availability of water resources determines the well-being, prosperity, and stability of societies worldwide. As fresh water becomes more scarce and is often unevenly distributed, tensions over its use are manifested in everyday life. Water security and the fair distribution of water is an issue of growing importance on the international agenda. Water cooperation is urgently required as water recognizes no administrative borders. There are 276 transboundary river basins in the world, and an estimated 148 nations have international basins within their territory. The stakeholders in these basins have different and sometimes conflicting needs, claims, and cultures.
How do you build a communication channel between these different cultures? That is the key. That is the most difficult thing. And that takes time, because a cultural change is always taking time. Notwithstanding that it requires a great deal of financial investments, long-term investments. But if you invest into water, you invest into peace.
The history of water conflicts, and especially in the low countries, is that it creates institutions which are designed to cooperate rather than to have conflict with each other. We have a very good domestic experience in creating the institutional structures for solving conflicts around water. So why not export them abroad?
Well, in my view, I think water can be both a source of conflict and a source of cooperation. It doesn't have to be inevitable that you can have water-related disputes. And I think it is important for the Hague Institute, together with our partners in the Water Diplomacy Consortium, in making sure that through our innovative policy-relevant research, our facilitation work, convening of conferences, and a hands-on work on projects in countries at risk, that water becomes something which brings together communities and people, and which can be a source of cooperation rather than a source of friction.
Water diplomacy is the profession that is instrumental in establishing the opportunities for cooperation.
Water diplomacy is a matter of relations both between states and within states. It is about mutual decision-making and the involvement of participants. Stakeholder participation is therefore a vital element both in water governance and in water diplomacy.
Water diplomacy is a relatively new approach by combining a whole range of instruments: legal, voluntary, technical, economical, arbitration, mediation, to manage water conflicts, and in this way it gives room for diplomats and other people involved in water conflicts to make effective solutions.
Well, I think, first of all, the biggest challenge is to have water diplomacy recognized as such. Recognized by governments and the larger diplomatic community as a tool that can help a great deal in peace building.
But water diplomacy is very important because it plays an important role in preventing and managing water-related disputes, which is why we have made it a flagship project here at the Hague Institute for Global Justice.
The Water Diplomacy Consortium acknowledges that the increasing stresses on water must be countered by effective mitigating responses, including the enhancement of water diplomacy to prevent and resolve water-related conflicts. For this reason, the Water Diplomacy Consortium has recently been launched during the International Year of Water Cooperation.
The Water Diplomacy Consortium, which we're working on with 4 other partners, has a tremendous potential to become a hub here in the Netherlands for really innovative research, practical on-the-ground activities, and a hub for training on water-related disputes. So it has tremendous potential, and we are very grateful with the support we've got from the other partners as well.
Well, Klingendahl is a 35 years old think tank on international relations in general, so we are concerned about new sources of conflict, water among them, and on a particular niche diplomacy of the Netherlands.
The added value of our institute is that we are training the next generation of water leaders for the benefit of the developing countries and countries in transition, where most of these problems are.
UPeace brings added value to the water diplomacy approach by combining the more technical aspects of water management with knowledge and experience in the area of peace and peace building.
The Dutch Water Governance Center has put together the 5 building blocks for good water diplomacy in a booklet. This booklet is called, not surprisingly, 5 building blocks for good water governance. It is our contribution for good water diplomacy in the years to come.
The International Conference of Water Security and Peace in The Hague is an important stepping stone in addressing the growing needs for water conflict prevention and resolution. The Netherlands Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Municipality of The Hague recognize the importance of these needs.
Water diplomacy is not just diplomacy as such. It does require a great deal of expertise from water field. It does require a great deal of knowledge from international relations, how governments are functioning. It does require the knowledge of law, international law. So it's a complex issue. And that is why it is so important that hydrodiplomacy, as some define it, is really established as a principle, and conferences like this one can make a major contribution to that.
This conference creates opportunities for dialogue, knowledge exchange, and partnership building. Participants will explore the role of negotiation and arbitration in water disputes, highlighting specific cases in the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia, among others. The conference will also focus on the need to optimize present arrangements and particularly the need for additional diplomatic tools to remove political bottlenecks and to address recurring conflicts.
Perhaps the most important element for action is indeed invest into hydrodiplomacy. Create the next generation of leaders who are equipped with the necessary means to use water as a source of cooperation and as a source of conflict. I think this is a tallest order. It will take time, but there's no other way.
The world in general is, during the last 20 years, relatively successful in solving conflicts at the negotiation table rather than on the battlefield. So I would urge this conference to add water as a new domain of not only of conflict but of peaceful conflict solution as well.
Let's join our forces, our combined forces, to make water diplomacy an effective instrument for solving water conflicts.
I would say engage fully in the conference. We want your ideas, we want your suggestions, we want constructive criticism, but above all, do come up with practical recommendations which can be of help to policymakers in the Netherlands, in other parts of the world, to make sure that water is a source of cooperation and not a source of friction and a cause for dispute. If we can come up with those practical recommendations on the way forward, I think the conference would have been an unquestionable success.